Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everybody to the January New Year 2023 meeting of the St. Tammany Parish Board of Adjustment. Y'all are welcome. Good to see y'all. Please silence all phones, any electronic devices. Please turn them off. Any appeals to the decisions of this board should be addressed to the 22nd Court of Appeals. Speaker cards are available, but I don't think we need them. I'll recognize everybody as we go through the cases. In public speaking, 10 minutes will be allowed for the person that's asking for recognition, 10 minutes to any opposition, and thereafter there will be 5 minutes each for rebuttal. And after your case is heard, we'd ask that you please exit the building promptly so we can go on with the next case. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ballantyne from Mandeville.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas from Mandeville. Mr. Daly from Covington.
Here.
Mr. Blosh from Mandeville.
Here.
Mr. Spees from Lacombe.
Here.
Mr. Swindell from Covington.
Here.
And Mr. Sanders from Slidell. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
And I would like to recognize Mr. Swindell as a voting member today, and we do have 5 votes. We have a quorum and 5 voting members. The next item on the agenda is the election of officers for 2023.
Nominations, Mr. Chairman?
Whatever you would like to do.
If it pleases the board, I'd like to nominate you and Mrs. Helen as our 2 representatives, our chair and co-chair, as was last year.
Thank you. Do I hear? We've had a nomination or a motion to nominate Mr. Ballantyne and Ms. Thomas as chair and vice chair for 2023. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that gladly.
We have a second, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote with your screen. Or do we do that or not?
Does it have to be voted
Must be a
separately
voice vote, huh?
or can you vote in the same?
If there's no objection, I think we can vote in the same motion.
Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is the minutes from our December meeting. Any comments, questions, or anybody got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Mr. Spees to approve the December minutes. How about a second?
I'll second.
And a second. Any other discussion? Please vote with your screen.
Motion carries.
Carries. Moving along, the first case for this afternoon is BOA case number 2022-3164. 3164. Request by applicant in an A4 single-family residential zoning district to increase the maximum allowable square footage of an accessory building by adding a carport to an existing garage. The property is located at 351 Forest Loop, Mandeville, Louisiana. The applicant and representative is Mr. Jerry Schaefer. Staff comments, please.
The objective of the request is to allow for the addition of a 609 square foot carport to an existing 1,050 square foot garage. The square footage of the garage and the carport will total 1,659 square feet. Considering that the size of the property is 15,000 square feet, the maximum allowable square footage of an accessory building will be of 1,200 square feet. The garage and the carport addition will occupy a total of approximately 11.06% of the area of the total lot, and the garage and the carport will approximately exceed the maximum allowable percentage by 3.6% or 534 square feet without taking into consideration the existing 624 square foot storage garage located in the northeast corner of the property. While the carport is proposed to be located over an existing slab, the requested variance is a personal preference rather than a property hardship. I would also like to point out to the board that in 2014, the property owner was granted a variance to reduce the side yard setback from 7.5 feet to 5 feet for the existing garage.
Would the applicant please step forward, state your name and address, and add anything that you might like to put before us for this case?
My name is Jerry Schaefer. I live at the address 351 Forest Loop in Mandeville for over 41 years. Let me step back a little bit to the previous thing. There's 130-something houses in my neighborhood, a little U.S. Homes subdivision. They were all considered non-conforming lots back when they built it. So they were all built on 5-foot setback on side property lines. I was smart enough 40-something years ago to buy an extra lot because I knew I was a junk collector, for lack of a better term, back then. I wanted a bigger yard. I knew I was going to have a boat or something else, so I bought an extra lot. When the time come to add on to my house, I had no trouble getting permits to add on to the house out into that lot, which was supposedly combined, but not right. So when I went to do my garage, I had to go spend $700 with Randall Brown to say these 2 lots are now 1 lot. And they want to hold me at 10 foot on that one side where I was putting the garage. And I said, well, I got a camper and a boat that goes through there to get in the back. I said, so I need that 12 foot there. I want to go back to the 5 foot. So then they asked me about 7. Why did I need 12? And I asked the gentleman if he ever backed up a 20-foot boat or camper trailer through that little small space into a backyard, and he said, okay, and they gave me the variance. That was the need for that part of it. Now, actually, after 25 years, I updated my camper, and it's bigger, height-wise. It does not fit in the back shed where I did keep it. So I don't like it in the driveway. I wanted to get it at least behind the fence. Well, if you look at the pictures I presented with y'all, my house is on the left, my garage on the right. The garage is a metal building, all color coordinated with the house and all. I'm kind of compulsive about my stuff. So all this is going to do is that alley in between, which is already cement. I'm not losing any green space. It's already concrete. The camp is already there. Instead of the 412 pitch I put on the metal building to kind of match the houses in the neighborhood. I didn't want that 112 real flat look of a metal commercial building. Now it'll switch, transition from the 412 to a 112 for 14 foot wide to put the camper under, or, well, to be over the camper where the camper is presently stored. I got no objection letters from 5 neighbors across the street, as much as you can see either way sitting in my front yard, 2 on either side of me. I've been in there 40-something years. Most of them call me the mayor of the neighborhood because I do everything there. We don't have a homeowners association to worry about. I'm probably the closest thing to it because, like I said, being there so long, I maintain the lights and the entrance signs and everything up front. Everybody comes to me when they need something. So I'm respectfully requesting this variance so I can put a cover over my camper.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Please step back. Is there any objection to this request for variance? Seeing none, how about any questions for Mr. Schaefer from any of the board members?
I just think Mr. Schaefer has done his homework. The way he presented everything to us was very well, I thought, so I don't have any problems with it.
Thank you.
Yes. Then can I have a motion? Somebody would like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve it.
Mr. Spies has made a motion to approve the request for variance. Any other, or no, how about a second? I need a second. Mr. Blash has seconded the motion. Any other discussion, anything? If not, please vote with your screen.
All in favor, motion carries.
Good afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
The next case for this afternoon is a BOA case number 3167. It's a request by applicant in a planned unit development to appeal the decision of a parish official regarding the parish standby generator installation guidelines concerning the after-the-fact placement of a generator within the required residential side yard setback. The property is located at 209 Rue Chantilly in Covington, Louisiana. The applicant is Miss Nancy Hughes. Staff comments, please.
As per the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance, Chapter 105, Buildings and Construction, a building permit and inspections are required to allow for the installation of a residential generator. The generator shall also meet the St. Tammany Parish standby generator installation guidelines and the manufacturer's guidelines. The objective of the guidelines are in place due to the potential threat of carbon monoxide poison caused by the generator and for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. The guidelines also include setbacks from the property lines, wall, windows, and neighboring house. The objective of the setbacks are also to allow for maintenance of the generator without trespassing on the abutting property and also for the neighbor's health, safety, and welfare. The generator is currently located 17 inches from the property line and within 6 to 7 foot from the neighbor's residence, which is in violation of the required 3-foot setback from the property line. According to the attached side elevation plan of the residence, the generator also appears to be in violation of the requirement that there shall be no window within 5 feet of the exhaust of the generator. The applicant is appealing the decision of a parish official in regards to the application of the generator guidelines, requesting to allow the generator to remain in its current location, since there are existing carbon monoxide alarms inside the residence, as stated in the attached narrative. Staff recommends upholding the denial of the request to issue the permit for the generator in its current location, considering that the proximity of the generator to the property line will not allow for maintenance without trespassing on the adjacent property and create concerns regarding health, safety, and welfare. And I would also like to introduce you to Mr. Ronald Manton. He's one of the building officials here, and he can answer any questions you may have.
Gentleman in the attractive hat.
Yeah, Ronald Manton, Inspections and Enforcement.
I'd like to call on the applicant to come forward, state your name and address, and anything you would like to add on your request.
Yes, good afternoon, thank you for having us. My name is Jeffrey Hughes. My wife has asked me to do this. I think in support of the application, we live in a gated community, which is a new development, and upon wishing to have a generator, we've surveyed roughly where everybody else's was, and a contractor eventually was found who was recommended to us by a relative of ours who'd successfully installed a generator at his house. We were subsequently aware of the requirements for the safety, and we're very concerned about our safety, obviously. And so it was positioned, as we thought, in a position the same as probably the majority of the generators in the area between all the other houses, which in a new development there is not a tremendous amount of breezeway available. The considerations that we took in to account were the fact, obviously, of our safety. And as far as we were concerned, I might query the fact that it might be 17 or 18 inches away from a fire-resistant wall. It is certainly not 5 feet, it's certainly more than 5 feet from a window. And the lady next door, who happens to be a widow, who wants to put a generator further down the sideway so that she will actually necessarily go onto our land to have her service, or us to do vice versa. I have spoken to a number of contractors outside of this parish, admittedly, particularly down in Florida, and it is possible, and Generac themselves also admit, it's possible to service a generator from what is called its either end rather than the front, which actually, as it's parallel to the building, is really the side. We've contacted all our neighbours and have supplied you with letters of which they have no objection, and they're the people that can actually see it. As I said, it's a problem because it's a new neighbourhood, and the homeowners association will not allow us to put it in the back garden, or the backyard as you would call it. It can only be in the sideway. And as I say, it's very consistent with everybody else is in the same place. We did have a gas inspection, and the gas inspector found only one problem, and that was that it wasn't secured to the wall, as in fact are very few of them, but we have actually secured it to the wall, and we didn't have a meter because I was unaware that we needed a meter, but we have had a meter fitted to the gas input, and it does maintain what is apparently the level of £5 per square inch. So we're really asking the variance so that we can have a generator within our breezeway. And subsequent, I must advise that the next door neighbour, the lady who's a widow, will also come and maybe ask for the same thing because she will need to come on our property. There is no question of a fence going in between the two properties. We both have a fence actually in our backyard because we have dogs. And so that's the only fences that we have. So that's basically, and I hope that we've supplied all the information that you've managed to read as far as our application is concerned. I'm happy to answer any questions, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Stand back. Is there anybody here in opposition to this request? I would like to ask Mr. Ron to comment on the situation here.
Well, we keep them 3 foot from the property line, just in case if somebody ever decides to put a fence up. It has to have 3 foot clearance for that generator to work right. So that's where we get in 3 foot. You have to be 3 foot off that property line.
Okay. You have anything else to add? Okay. Mr. Blash.
I have a question with regards to the safety issue. If a fence were to be placed, does that create a safety issue for the property or?
Yes, it will.
Okay, can you maybe delve into that just a little bit so we can understand better?
All generators have got to have 3 foot clearance around them to draw air to make the generator run right.
Okay, and if they don't have that,
or it will
what?
overheat and catch fire.
Okay, so it could potentially start a fire,
Yep.
is what you're saying, okay, okay. Okay.
Mr. Swindell.
Staff mentions the window, so Mr. Hughes says it's more than 5 feet. Is it or not closer than 5 feet to a window?
It has to be 5 feet away from a window, an operable window.
Yeah, so in its current placement, does it satisfy that or no?
I'm not
I can
positive.
comment on it.
Okay.
I walked it off.
So it is closer than 5 feet to a
Nope.
window? Oh,
It's
okay,
5
so we're
feet.
clear.
The window is 5 feet from the base concrete of the generator.
Okay. I'll just make a comment, Mr. Hughes, because, I mean, I don't have any other questions other than that. But as an engineer, I respect the safety issues that are presented in these codes. And that's the reason why the permitting process exists, is to keep these mistakes from happening. It's unfortunate that this was done without a permit and the generator is where it is. You know, asking us, or me in particular, this is my feeling, asking me to overlook a safety issue is a particular problem. You know, from an aesthetics perspective or something like that, you know, just like the prior case, I don't really have a problem as long as the neighbors all agree. But when it comes to life safety, I think that's where the line is for me personally. My recommendation is, if this doesn't pass, is that you just press the HOA to come up with a solution that better meets what their aesthetic desire is from the rear view, to try to resolve it in that fashion. So when it does come up, I'll tell you, I'll be voting no to pass it.
Thank you. Mr. Spees.
I got a question for the staff or anybody who answered the question. If they're gonna put a wooden fence there, they're gonna have to come back for a permit. Somebody is on one side or the other, right?
Nope.
Nope. So they could put it right next to a hazard.
Yep, you can put a 6 foot fence without a permit.
Gotcha.
I have the same concern, the same point. Just a minute. Mr. Daly? I can recognize Mr. Daly.
Well, both Mr. Swindell and Mr. Spies covered almost all of what I was going to say, but I mean, the other thing is, these are into perpetuity, so even if, homeowners will change and fences may happen, so that's probably our biggest issue, is that it's a long-term safety issue, not an immediate one. But it's very close, so.
Yes, sir. Mr. You had something else you wanted to point out?
I did, sir, yes.
Please step up
Sorry.
where we can hear you.
First of all, the homeowners, we actually live on the small lake, and the homeowners association will not allow a solid fence to go there, a wooden fence anyway. Okay? Secondly, the requirement is with respect, not as far as a safety issue is concerned, with any fence as far as I can see from what Generac's suggestions or requirements are, but more of a servicing issue. The safety issue really is the fact that when the generator is parallel to the building, the danger is the fumes that come out from each end of the generator, which is the exhaust. And the exhaust is nowhere near where a fence would be. The fence, or the 3 feet, is predominantly for servicing. We have actually 2 feet, and a contractor can service it from either end, or he can stand there. It's not, according to Generac, apparently a safety issue. Secondly, we've got and had it set back further enough that, unlike most homeowners on the estate, we will not be putting trees, bushes, or anything either end of the generator where it can trap the exhaust. And finally, as far as the safety issue is concerned, I would never do anything which would endanger my safety.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Okay, any other questions or comments from any of the board members? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
We're going to do the,
Yes, this is what was requested the last time, right? That we may
Well,
always make a
just-
motion in the affirmative, so I'll make a motion to approve this request.
and you second? We have a motion by Mr. Swindell to approve the variance, a second by Mr. Spies. Any other discussion?
I might just point out to the homeowner that it takes 4 affirmative votes to approve a variance. And although there has been a motion to approve, it does not necessarily mean that all of the commissioners will vote to approve the variance, that it does take 4 affirmative votes. But I have advised the board that they should always make a motion in the affirmative. So I just wanted to let you know what the vote is required for the variance.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Are there all the comments? Please vote with your screen. And
Motion failed.
the motion failed. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask one question? It's not contentious. As somebody who doesn't understand any of this, and I was not unaware that we needed a permit, what do I do? What do we do next to try and get this agreed on the basis of all our neighbours are in exactly the same position, or in fact worse than us?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hughes, you
Yes, sir.
please contact the staff and ask for guidance on what you need to do going forward.
Which particular staff, sir?
You're welcome to call me, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Helen would be glad to help you. Okay, that concludes our cases for this afternoon. Under old business, next item on the agenda is old business. And we just had one of those cases. I don't think I'll go into that right now. How could we get a report on? Are we everyone good with their training? Did we get? Everyone did. Congratulations! Thank you all. Everybody did their training. I would like to leave for discussion with Ms. Thomas is here. This whole thing about in the affirmative. It does leave our participants bewildered. And, you did an excellent, beautiful job of explaining that to them to alleviate their bewilderness. But I would like to have the discussion, but I want Ms. Thomas to be here and D'Artagnan also. Maybe when we're all here, we can have that discussion. Anything else under old business? How about new business? And, oh.
I was just going to comment on that. Is there can we like move the question and make it more of a move it to a vote? I know I'm jumping our discussion when Ms. Thomas is going to be here, but is there an option to sort of move the vote as presented instead of saying, approve, yeah?
We've toyed with language in the past, especially when the staff has given recommendations, to make motions to concur with the staff recommendation so that it's clear which direction the vote is heading and so that you don't get into the same predicament with a negative motion. But in all cases, the staff recommendation is not necessarily so clear.
And when I read this case, and that was one of the things I was going to do is try to lead a motion that would concur with staff comments. And that would be a way to do it, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
I personally don't mind it, as long as everybody understands when we make a motion to approve. It's not necessarily how I feel, that's why I told him I was voting no,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was good. Yeah. Okay. We were racing off into new business.
3 new cases for February.
3 new cases.
Well, one that was postponed from November.
Yes, the,
and then
tower.
We will have 2 new ones.
So
We have one after the fact, yes. Yeah, one after the fact.
one after the fact, and the tower, you have all the info you need on the tower now, or no?
Not yet.
And for the development code, there was going to be an update with the tower. Did we get that in?
An
Or-
update with the tower.
Yeah, so they won't have to come to you, because right now, even if they can comply with the, I guess, how to explain it.
Fall radius?
Yeah, fall radius, how it comes, they still have to come in front of this borders. So yes, we're correct in that.
Okay.
In this case, however, sorry to interrupt you.
You're correct, keep going.
However, if I'm not mistaken, it was installed in 2001, which was before Katrina. So we do not have any information. I mean, I was able to find the original building permit. And so there's absolutely no information regarding that fall radius or that it would crumble on itself.
it fails on itself.
And towers that were installed before Katrina, some of them really fell flat, full length.
Quick internet search.
I would just say this, I've seen this in Tangible Parish, when you're just a few miles past the line, there's a development that was built around a tower. How on earth you could feel safe in a situation where there's high winds or whatever? Because this is not an old this is an old tower. There's no breakaway or anything. The breakaway is when it hits your house. So I think we're doing right by maintaining that safety level. That's where we always should maintain safety.
Any other business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
So move to adjourn. Good, see you next month. Thank you all.
And you raised the